What is peak anime? Is it this? Or maybe something more emotional like this? Whatever peak is to you, we can all agree that any good show has good characters and a good story. But what really makes a show stand out is something less flashy but equally crucial: pacing. Now, if a show has good characters or story, you can instantly tell. Like, oh my god, this character's so tough. Or, god damn, I'm going to question my entire existence for the next couple days. However, pacing is subtle and works in the background to create a scaffold for the entire narrative. And while bad pacing is easy to notice, good pacing can be the unsung hero which elevates a show from good to peak. When I watched Frieren for the first time, I thought to myself, man, this shit is so slow. Let me hop on Reels real quick. But then, it hit me.
だって私、この人のこと何も知らないし、人間の寿命は短いって分かっていたのに。なんでもっと知ろうと思わなかったんだろう。
Sure, this scene was like getting hit with an emotional body check, but the more I thought about it, the more it sank in that it was the scenes leading up to it, and the use of pacing specifically, that accentuated the emotional impacts of the climax. It inconspicuously hooked me into the show. And that has to do with perspective. As Frieren is an elf, her lifespan is essentially eternal compared to humans, which deeply influences her character and how she perceives time. What's a decade to us is more like 10 days for her, and a mere 10-year adventure is a speck in her years alive. And this explains Frieren's slovenliness, in a literal sense, but is also reflected in the pacing as she is the main character and we are following the story through her eyes. In the first episode, Frieren separates from her party to essentially fuck around for 50 years, which is sounding a lot like my future if I don't lock the fuck in this year. And this was shown through a mere 50-second montage. Years feel as little as seconds from Frieren's perspective, and the show uses this pacing to heighten the emotional tension, making moments more impactful. After 5 decades, Frieren stumbles back into Himmel's town, and finds the man who once towered over her, with a gentle smile and glistening eyes. But Himmel is now 76, and because he didn't drink enough milk when he was younger, he's shrunk to half his original size, and Frieren couldn't hide her shock. This is the first instance of her showing any sort of emotion, and if you've watched other videos on Frieren, you would know that emotional development and building social connections is a fundamental theme in the narrative. So that time skip montage, which juxtaposes the typical slow pacing we were introduced to at the start, bolsters the impact of seeing Himmel again, thereby setting up the catalyst for Frieren's new journey. Himmel's reappearance gives you a reality check on the passage of time, as we've been following Frieren the entire time, and she has literally not changed. So to see him again, but this time he's shrunk to half his original size, really shocks Frieren. This stark contrast of rapid then slow pacing also reflects how to elves, time can fly by, yet be as realistically slow as humans perceive it. Through pacing like this, a vicarious experience of time distortion is constructed, which subconsciously draws you into the story, and thus why such a boring show is gonna win Anime of the Year. But still, the haters gonna hate. Because overall, the pacing is too slow for their ADHD shonen-addicted brains. And that brings me to my next point, which is...
That's the point.
The fantasy genre is defined as a type of speculative fiction, involving supernatural elements and otherworldly creatures. It borrows heavily from mythology and oral traditions, and thus we tend to see the same shit in every single fantasy show, as well as very similar storylines, usually something like the Chosen One goes on an epic quest to defeat the big bad, or some corrupt empire going... and the main characters struggle for survival while rebelling against it. Or it's an isekai, but usually, watchers go into a fantasy with the expectation that the pacing will have around 60% slower parts for world building, character development, and explaining the magic system if it has one, combined with 40% fast pacing for high stakes fights or full scale wars. Frieren is a little different in that it skews the ratios of this pacing a bit, in order to fit its story better. This isn't some grand adventure about defeating the Demon King, that's already been done. It's an introspective tale, where an immortal being, spurred by the regret of not getting to know someone until it's too late, retraces a journey in order to connect with others and learn the value of spending time with them. And when you think about it, in real life, the moments where you feel you're tangibly building rapport and getting to know someone better happens in the quiet and sometimes mundane moments, not necessarily the hype ones. Frieren is a really grounded story that teaches you that it's not about the life or death fights, but more so the importance of the smaller things in life that we take for granted. Take episode 2 for example. Frieren helps clean a statue of Himmel, and when she's done, she decides to put a ring of flowers around it, but not just any flowers. She is adamant on them being blue moonweed, because Himmel had said he wanted to show them to her one day, but never did. So she spends a casual 6 months looking for them. Fern gets pissy and thinks she is wasting time, but she doesn't understand how much Himmel meant to Frieren, and her dedication to finding these damn flowers is sort of like a way to process her grief and make up for the missed time she could have spent with him. And also because Himmel used to complement the spells she collects, so she wants to make one to remember him by. And this brings me to my next point. Blue moonweed isn't just a flower, but a symbol of Himmel. Blue is obviously related to Himmel's hair color, but is also referring to the color of heaven, which is what Himmel's name means. The moon symbolizes a guiding light in the midst of darkness, like how he was the one to show Frieren the importance of forming relationships and the reason she seeks to do so now. And weed, a plant that continues to thrive, despite harsh environments, represents how Himmel's character is immortalized through the statues he erected and through Frieren's memories of him. On the surface, such a slow episode about some random flower sounds like a bad side quest, but it invites you to reflect deeply on the themes of memory and connection, showing that small moments can carry such profound significance. Now, do you know what's another way to add depth to a story and its characters? I alluded to it with my last example, and that is the use of flashbacks. Ah, yes.
Number 15.
Unnatural flashbacks. The last thing you want in your Chinese cartoon is some stupid ass flashback you've seen for the 5th time. This episode. This story device is notorious in the anime scene, as so many shows use it as a cheap cop-out for shitty writing. It's gotten to a point where as soon as I see some flashback in the middle of a fight scene, I don't even have to watch the rest, because I know there's a 99% chance the main character is gonna die. Poorly written flashbacks can destroy pacing, making an episode feel repetitive and lumbering. But conversely, Frieren is able to inject them into every episode in a natural way that moves the story forward. A YouTuber called Himmel made an amazing video on how Frieren uses flashbacks effectively, and I'll be using that as a reference for what I'm about to talk about. You should check out his video, by the way, it's like really good. Anyway, as I was saying, Frieren avoids the use of reminder flashbacks entirely, so the ones where a scene from maybe a couple episodes ago is shown again to remind your goldfish memory what's happened, because if the story is good enough, you would remember. And instead exclusively uses character insight flashbacks in order to create a parallel between the past and present. Frieren undergoes change throughout the series, and each time she reflects on the past, her old apathetic self reminds the audience of how much she has improved, but also helps us piece together the theme of each episode. In episode 14, we immediately begin by drawing a parallel between her current journey and her old. Frieren is in the same town as before, and Himmel says they'll do some shopping later, which places the first piece of the jigsaw puzzle, which is the setting of this episode and also beginning a storyline of Himmel and Frieren doing some shopping, like he said, and preempts Fern and Stark doing a little shopping themselves. So basically, the premise of this episode is Fern molding when Stark forgot to buy her a birthday present. So after a quick couples counseling session with Sign, which goes something along the lines of, "Real men don't care about birthdays and shit. What are you, 12? Yo, chill, bitch. I take that back. Fine, I'll go buy you something.
Later.
Yeah, back to what I was saying earlier. You don't have to be such a tsundere. We all know you like him, so just apologize and give him head. I mean, a heads up next time it's your birthday. You feel me, shorty? So Fern and Stark make up and they go shopping. Fern and Stark settle on this bracelet with a mirrored lotus design. Okay, so that was a short summary of the first half, which at this point means pretty much fuck all, but in reality, it adds yet another piece of the puzzle to the story. In the next part, Frieren gets jumped by the ops and loses this ring that Himmel gave her. While they are stranded in the forest for a couple days, she sneaks out at night to try and find it. Fern catches this one night, and upon hearing that it was a present from the goat himself, she instantly decides to help. And even though Frieren tries to be nonchalant here, it is made clear that intrinsically, this specific ring is very special to her, or else she wouldn't have tried looking for it for several nights. Also, have you noticed that Frieren wears jewelry of the people she cares about the most? Like how her earrings were from Flame. And funnily enough, Sign earlier drops the fact that the mirrored lotus design on Fern's bracelet and Frieren's ring symbolizes eternal love. So in the end, the merchant gives Frieren a spell for finding lost accessories, and as she uses it, we get to a flashback which completes the puzzle and ties everything together, merging both the old and new journey into a singular climactic point. In this flashback, Himmel buys a gift for Frieren, just like how Stark buys one for Fern. And as Frieren haphazardly chooses a ring, reminding us of her emotionally distant and cold former self, Himmel is disappointed that she doesn't give a shit about his sentiments. But after seeing the ring Frieren picked, a look of amusement spread across his face, because he knows exactly what the fuck the mirrored lotus means. We cut back to Frieren in the present, and the location of the ring glows like a Minecraft beacon. Then boom, immediately back to the flashback where Himmel sees an opportunity and seizes it. If this isn't peak, then I don't know what is. And choosing to segment the flashback, switching to the present after each little development, not only amplifies the hype of the climax, but also keeps the viewer immersed in the current moments. This flashback fits so naturally into the story that I forgot Himmel is long gone, and just pretend he is with Frieren on this new journey of hers. The pacing isn't disrupted, and as new information is added at the right time and in the right way in order to develop the plot and fill in the gaps of information planted earlier. And that is how flashbacks in anime are redeemed for me. Pacing is like your ring finger. You think it's absolutely useless until you break it. And now whenever you jack off, with each stroke, you feel the pain of your finger, as well as the pain of knowing you'll never get to finger. Frieren's pacing is slow, and that's alright. It's meant to reflect the normalcy of life and represent the quiet moments that speak so loud. The flow of the story is synced to that of Frieren, which teleports you into her iconic gumboots, further submerging you into the story. And the show's heavy use of flashbacks sews Frieren's old journey together with the new, advancing the plot and characterization. So if you ever feel your life's a hectic mess, sit down, hop on any anime site that's not Crunchyroll, click on Frieren, and remind yourself to slow down and look around once in a while. Because even the smallest moments of life are worth living.
イケメンポーズ集を見せないとな。
やっぱり覚えるのやめようかな。
If you've watched this far, then I quite literally love you. If you have any suggestions for future videos, or think I just wasted 12 minutes of your life, feel free to leave a comment below and I'll make sure to leave you on red. Please consider subscribing if you're new, and remember, bitches be crazy sometimes.